Hi, my name is Leah Peralt, and I'm doing my leadership interview presentation for COM 430. The assignment consisted of creating interview questions to interview someone that we viewed as a leader. And for this interview, I chose Raina Ellis. Raina Ellis is an employee of mine. She has started with me 2 years ago, climbing up the ranks, starting at the bottom. And just recently, she took over my previous team of 8 people. Um, I'm incredibly proud of her, and I'm not going to lie that this was an absolutely intentional placement of this assignment, and watching her grow just through this assignment, this interview with me, really watching her confidence grow and exceed through this assignment and this thought about being a leader. Absolutely intentional, and it absolutely worked. Pretty exciting. So Raina is currently leading a team of 8. She's the director of customer service at our company, Pumping Essentials. She's a gem. We love her. So some things that we addressed in our questions and interview with Raina, some 3 key points. We're addressing whether or not Raina views herself as a leader. Are you a leader? And was Raina able to identify the difference between a leader and a manager? So does she know that difference? Secondly, the leadership development. What is Raina doing? What does she focus on as being important as developing as a leader? And lastly, what tools is she engaging? So what does she use to lead and how? And why is that important to her? There were some common themes that came up in Raina's presentation, or excuse me, in her interview. And it was pretty awesome to see. So first of all, we're going to focus on that. Are you a leader? So throughout the course, we've talked about the difference between a leader and a manager. And some key terms on that is managers, they task orient. They focus on getting stuff done and tasks done, whereas leaders demonstrate the ability to get stuff done. They determine not necessarily the one-step process, but kind of the next 5 steps. So they're looking in the future-oriented. That's the word I was looking for. And what Raina demonstrates clearly in her responses is some topics that we talked about in our text, and that was a leader as a motivator, a leader as a storyteller, and a leader as a sense maker. That was one of my favorite parts in the textbook this quarter. And what she does throughout her responses that we were able to review afterwards, which was pretty cool, is that Raina identifies those 3 skills, and those are not skills of managers. Managers don't possess the skills of storytellers, sense makers. One thing that's really interesting for Raina is we're in a startup company, so that sense maker piece is huge. There are times we don't meet payroll. There are times that we're pushing to bring in just a few extra bucks so that we can bring in the product that we need. And Raina demonstrated throughout her answers that that is something she does, and she was excited to find out that it had a title. So that was pretty cool. The other thing that next would be the leadership development. What's important to Raina in that sense? So what Raina didn't realize that she was doing is demonstrating the type of power she cares about. This was also one of my favorite things in the text, and that was that the 2 that really stood out to me that I've really tried to teach her have been those of expert power and referent power, and then stepping aside from yourself and your title, and really looking at eliminating legitimate power. And the coolest thing happened in this interview, and it was watching Raina say that without saying it. Raina specifically talked about how a title means nothing. What means something is for your followers to see you doing what they're doing. Are you willing to do what they would do? Have you done what they would do, that expert power? She also referred to really looking at what it means to be a role model, demonstrating the ability, being open, welcoming, coming, right? And that came out. What does she focus on? She focuses on those types of power. Again, she was excited to know that those had names. So that other piece that she really focuses on is her leadership style. It actually came out a few times. She stated I like to be connected. I like to make sure that my team members feel involved. I'm not a do as I say, do as I say, not as I do kind of leader, which I would, I'm going to butcher this word, but laissez-faire leadership kind of came out as a big no-no for Raina, which was great. And then we had that other kind of growing of the democratic type leadership. Your followers are a part of your development and part of the growth of your team, which was pretty cool. The next thing that really came up when we were talking about how does she lead and how, one really big thing she really highlighted was the communication style, adapting to the surroundings. And not only that, adapting to the people. One thing that came out really important to Raina was treating each person as an individual, making them feel valued. And so that leader followership relationship came out really big for her. Developing her followers so that they could become leaders came out in her responses. So overall, what was most important to Raina that seemed to spark the most innermost response, the biggest common trend, was the fact that Raina leads from a pure heart, without animosity against others, against, she doesn't use her title for power. She uses her heart and her demonstration.